Have they made progress with this strike? They're picketing right now. So I think it's the early stages. I would think it might take a little bit with this one when someone crosses the rider strike. That's some dirty. They crossed the picket line, yeah. I don't think I've seen anybody doing that yet. I think Ellen did. I had a buddy of mine who was riding on Ellen. Everybody kind of knows now what she's really all about. And that's another one of those, like, I'm so nice and I'm so sweet being behind. The scenes with all the money in this world, you'd think Ellen DeGeneres could afford better secrets, but nope, Joe Rogan just cracked open the vault like it was his morning protein shake. What do you get when Mr. Podcast Truth Serum takes aim at America's favorite dancing daytime queen? A truth bomb so juicy it'll make your latte curdle. If you thought Ellen was just sunshine and throw pillows, think again. Joe's got receipts and they don't come with the studio audience. Yeah, but don't hate on the people who are doing it. That's why you're in that position. Do you see what Ellen did? This is really kind of funny. She said, being stuck here in quarantine is like being in prison. I haven't changed my clothes in days and everyone's gay. It's funny, that's funny, it's funny. And she got attacked. Do you think this is prison? My grandmother died. You're living in a mansion, that kind of. But I think it's probably partly because that guy came out and said, hey, Ellen is mean. Post your stories about Ellen being mean. Oh, do you see the stories? They're bad. So Ellen DeGeneres once told the world to be kind. And then she did everything in her power to make sure nobody took that advice seriously ever again, because nothing screams kindness like terrorizing your interns, firing people for chewing gum, and having the emotional warmth of a malfunctioning self-check count machine. Big changes at the Ellen show after multiple allegations that it was a toxic place to work. 3 top producers have now, quote, parted ways, but the horror stories keep coming. One guest on the show telling Inside Edition that she was told, whatever you do, don't be funnier than Ellen. And now, like the universe's favorite chaotic uncle with a podcast, Joe Rogan has apparently decided he's had enough of Ellen's daytime dictatorship, because there's only so long you can watch someone dance on television before you realize they're just distracting you from a human rights violation happening in the green room. Let's be honest, Ellen DeGeneres ran her talk show less like a happy-go-lucky celebrity playpen and more like a low-budget psychological thriller smile for the cameras. Or get emotionally waterboarded might as well have been printed on her cords behind those twinkly blue eyes. A stress ball in the shape of a disgruntled assistant's hopes and dreams. It's like a beautiful name. ISIS Ellen's Rough Ellen is like an old, but it's a rough one now. It's a rough one now. Because she was running Abu Ghraib in the back of her show. That's a rough one. She's out there dancing with Kristen Bell. And in the back, there's people that are getting up on the rack like this. It's so weird when you see like a lot of people saying that someone who seems so nice is not nice at all. She doesn't seem nice. But that people have a very poor judge of character. She doesn't seem nice. It seems forced. Joe Rogan, who typically reserves his podcast for MMA fighters, UFO believers, and the occasional mushroom-induced dimension traveler, has now set his intellectual sniper scope on Ellen, and somehow it's more satisfying than watching a flat earther try to explain gravity. With a pancake, the Ellen situation, yeah. You know, people found out that Ellen was mean, and all these people came out and said, Ellen's actually a bitch, and every can't believe it. And she lost everything, she fell apart, disappeared. Because people found out that this character that she was portraying in a half an hour on a television show was not really who she was. My buddy Greg, who was one of her writers, was like, she's a piece of shit. And he was like, she's a monster. Because here's the thing, Ellen wasn't just a bad boss, she was the final boss of passive-aggressive tyranny. Her show's culture was so toxic, it made a Chernobyl tour look like a relaxing retreat, and Joe, with his UFC-sharpened nonsense detector, decided it was time to unleash the verbal guillotine. He basically took all that Be Kind branding, wrapped it in a protein shake, and launched it into the sun, because Joe Rogan may not have a degree in workplace ethics, but even he can recognize when the human equivalent of a labradoodle is running a Hollywood sweatshop. Ellen's public persona was always like a warm hug from a hologram. Looks comforting from a distance, but try to get close and you'll short-circuit from the sheer artificiality. Her version of kindness was the kind that comes with a time limit, a camera angle, and a strict no-eye contact policy. And the stories, oh, the stories flowed like kombucha at a Malibu drum circle, employees allegedly being punished for speaking to her, Don't look Ellen in the eyes rule so strict it made staring at solar eclipses seem like a safer alternative. One person said they were fired after taking medical leave. Another was told to expect retaliation for reporting harassment because clearly nothing says fun-loving daytime queen like retaliatory HR policies. Good morning to you. What do you think of the news? Has this come as a shock? Hi, no, not a shock at all. The viewers have spoken her. Ratings have been in the toilet for a long time now. Her show has not been fun, it has not been interesting, and she's not really, by the way, stepping down. The viewers fired her. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan's out here letting people talk about DMT and elk meat for 3 hours without anyone getting fired for blinking. Too loud. The irony is stunning. Joe, who once interviewed a guy that believes Atlantis is buried under a Costco, comes out looking like the emotionally grounded one in this comparison. Ellen's show was a masterclass in duality. Smiling up front, silent screams in the back. If Willy Wonka ran a chocolate factory that doubled as a psychological torture chamber, that would still be less confusing than Ellen's workplace vibe. And here comes Rogan basically saying, enough of this talk show cosplay, let's talk about how this woman turned a talk show into the Stanford prison experiment with better lighting. Rogan didn't even need to get fancy. All he had to do was point out the glaring contradiction. The woman who made a brand out of being nice couldn't even be nice to the guy who delivered her coffee. That's not just hypocrisy. That's Olympic-level self-sabotage in yoga pants. Ellen had the audacity to close out her final show by talking about gratitude and growth, as if gaslighting your staff for 19 years counts as emotional development. Meanwhile, Rogan is out here dropping F-bombs and flexing biceps, and somehow still manages to be less toxic people that are like that all the time. She doesn't seem nice, it's very forced and whatever. You're allowed to be a pattis, right? You're allowed to be a patta. You're allowed to be nasty to people. You're accomplished. You're a comedian. You did the whole thing. What you're not allowed to do is have a Guantanamo Bay situation in the backstage of your show where everybody's walking around afraid for their life. And it's like Abu Ghraib where they're hooked up to wires and they have like, yeah, she's got dogs. And hoods. If an intern's late, they have a hood on. I don't support that. She used to end each show telling her viewers to be kind to one another, and it's kind of adorable how long it took people to realize she was actually issuing that as a warning. Like, be kind or I will hunt your dreams and revoke your parking validation. Meanwhile, Joe's podcast might be a swirling vortex of bro science and conspiracies, but you never hear anyone say, hey, don't look Joe in the eye or he'll eat your aura. Though that honor belongs solely to Queen Ellen of passive-aggressive Island. Let's not forget the guests on her show. The A-listers always got a curated love fest complete with glitter and at least one awkward dance-off, but if you were a little known, up-and-comer or God forbid a crew member, good luck, you might find yourself playing Russian roulette with your lunch break, or get locked in a closet with a post-it that says, smile more. You know it's bad when Joe Rogan, who once hosted a show where people ate insects for money, looks at your workplace and says, wow, that seems harsh. And here's the kicker. Ellen didn't just make mistakes. She curated them. There was a consistency to her cruelty, like she was auditioning for a role as the villain in a Pixar movie. Every allegation, every testimony, every sobbing former staffer told the same story, a funhouse mirror of kindness, where every smile came with a side of subtle threats. Million times, right? Like they're going to find the thing. If you don't go away, you gotta have a good run, and when you have a good run, you step back and you go, okay, I'm still gonna do my thing, but like there's only a few jobs in entertainment, right? Right? So I think a lot of the cancel culture is probably these. Want those jobs who they're like, how long is this too calm going to be dancing? I can dance with Hillary Clinton, I could do the Charleston with Henry Kissinger, whatever she does out there. The Charleston is that she goes out there, do the Charleston. She's got war criminals. Her and Bush are jumping around. That's right. She was buddies with Bush. That was like a CIA agent. You could be doing your job perfectly, but if you breathe too loud near her salad, Fired asked for a day off. Fired had an aura. She didn't like Fired. It's like playing Minesweeper, but with your employment. Joe Rogan isn't known for his subtlety, but when even he is calling out Ellen's